Any commentary has as its goal to explain the biblical text to the reader. I've tried to keep three other particular goals in mind as I wrote this commentary. First, as much as possible, I've tried to say things in everyday language. It's easy to write in very technical language, but then the preacher or the teacher is left with the hard job of translating that into everyday language for those that are being taught. So for example, Leviticus chapter 8 tells the story of the priests being ordained. As part of their ordination ceremony, the priests are to change into a different set of priestly clothing. Now it's easy to say, they're making this change and doing so from what anthropologists would call a rite of passage, taking them from one state into another. Well, that just doesn't translate very well to the church today, to the everyday person today. It's much better to say, or more helpful at least, to say something like this. In our society today, we often use special clothing to indicate that a person now has a special role. The uniform of the police officer or the uniform of the soldier indicate to us the role that that person plays in society. The clothing of the priests works in the same way. They change into new clothing to indicate the new role that they have. Well, now all of a sudden, the person preaching or teaching has language that they can use in explaining this to others. So that's the first thing. The second goal I've had is to keep a careful eye out for things in Leviticus that seem either strange or confusing or just plain wrong to the modern reader today. And as you can imagine, there are a ton of those things in Leviticus. But these are really important things to address because they're the kinds of things, they raise the kinds of questions that keep some people from embracing the Christian faith and can make Christians themselves wonder, what's going on? This doesn't seem to make any sense. And so things, for example, like what's ritual purity and impurity anyway? Why does a woman become ritually impure when she's had a baby? And why is she impure twice as long when she's had a girl baby as opposed to a boy baby? Isn't this sexism? Is Leviticus approving of slavery? It seems to talk about it in Leviticus chapter 25. Why are the penalties described in Leviticus so harsh? All sorts of questions like these come up in the book of Leviticus, and I've tried to give some help to the reader, to the teacher and preacher today in terms of how to engage these questions. The third goal has been to end every chapter by explaining how does this book, written to these ancient Israelites so many years ago, help us understand how to live life today, what our purpose in life really is, what God's design for humanity is, what is the mission He's given us, and how do we understand these things and fulfill these things as we follow Jesus, the one who's actually described in the New Testament as the sacrificial lamb who takes away the sin of the world.